This podcast is brought to you by Mapper Forward's new Patreon community, the Global Coffee Think Tank. Check the show notes or head to patreon.com/mapperforward to find out how you can become a member today. Welcome back to another episode of the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends. I am joined by my friend Diego Baraona. Diego, we are talking about innovation in El Salvadorian coffee producing.
Yeah.
What have they been?
Oof.
Because your dad was a big one, right? Like
Yeah,
he was a big innovator.
He was a big innovator, and he was always he was wired all day. So he was always trying to innovate, trying to find a new thing, trying to invent things. It's funny that I still keep finding things in the office like, oh, he was trying to do this. Interesting. Oh, he was trying to do this. Interesting. Okay.
The weirdest thing that he told me about, I couldn't believe that he was like on the board of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah, I mean, he worked for planning for Pizza Hut for when like for a lot of franchises here, for Domino's Pizza, for Taco Bell, for Kentucky Fried Chicken, on parallel being a coffee producer.
Like, and not just like, oh, I produce coffee as a side gig. Like he was a world like giant in this industry.
And now that I'm doing that full time, I'm like, how is he doing this and that? Like it makes I don't get it.
Your father was a unique human,
yeah.
right? And I really believe your father is looking down, super proud of you. You are a real asset to our industry, and the way that I hear you talk about your approach to the challenges of this time and the future is what gives me hope about how we're going to navigate this time ahead. People like you, people like Felipe Crosef, people like Willie Gijoso, people like Carlos Arcila. Like this is the next generation of coffee producers that are saying, well, climate change is real, first of all, and we can't ignore technology, and we have to take an approach to being understanding and realistic about the challenges that we're faced with. And perhaps right now, the big, massive, grand ideas need to be focused on survival rather than driving change. That's not related to climate change. So yeah, I'm sure he's proud. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's a good setup. I feel like what's unique in what we are innovating, we're not innovating, I guess we're trying to be more simple, and we're trying to survive. What are some ways to maintain our quality or inequality? Because I feel like coffees of El Salvador are really on high demand globally. So we're playing between this game of like, how can we maintain quality, production, but how can we lower our costs and be more simple, more effective? So I feel like that's what we are currently doing right now. And that's what we should all be doing right now also.
It sounds like what you're saying is that the innovation comes with filling the information gaps that allow you to simplify. Yeah. So going back to being responsible, it's this idea of learning about fiscal responsibility, learning about marketing, learning about climate change and all the stuff that's necessary. And that's where the innovation is, because rather than reacting to everything, as has been the historical approach to things in our industry, you're pausing, simplifying, and skilling yourself up.
Yeah.
Which is a luxury, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I noticed a lot of producers here are really, really perseverant, and then that's really nice to see. It's really nice because if all the amount of issues right now, and I see them battling and getting through and doing great and having great qualities in coffees, is really nice to see. So I feel like that's something that's part of this whole issue for perseverance.
Has it brought people together more?
Sorry?
Has it brought people together more in the community?
Yeah. And that's something that I'm going to answer in the next question.
Okay.
About what are we doing differently? And I will say, I feel like we're getting much closer together.
With regards to the challenges that are coming from a financial perspective, if we look at the role that innovation's going to play in these future challenges. Do you think there's a place, for example, with regards to what's happening with currencies around the world? And a lot of people might not be aware how much the role the US dollar plays in success and failure for coffee producers and people who buy green coffee. It's a huge deal, right?
Yeah. It's something that I found out like 3 weeks ago. One of our clients, he was like, "Hey, can you bill me in euros and not in dollars?" I was like, "Why?" I was like, "Now I get it."
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't realized, and I was like, "Wow, that plays a big role." Also, like, fluctuates so much and more expensive now.
Yeah. For any currencies that aren't directly tied to the US dollars, if you're dealing in that currency and you have to pay in US dollar, you are beholden to its fluctuations. The Australian dollar is one of those examples where right now we are getting pummeled really, really heavily. And it's a big problem on top of scarcity, on top of the challenges of how expensive it is to freight something here. If we have to pay in US dollars for something, we lose about 30% of our buying power.
Mm-hmm.
In an industry that's struggling on 3% net profit, how do we survive that? And this is the reality of what's going on. I keep hearing people say to me, "Don't worry, it'll just be fine." Great. Show me how. How are you exactly thinking about this? This is this rah-rah positive, like, don't worry, it'll all be fine. So looking at these challenges, do you think there is a role for cryptocurrency?
To be honest, and it might not be a popular answer here, I think there is. I mean, like, what do you have to lose, you know? Why are we saying no? Like Bitcoin's the devil, you know? Like, we haven't even given it a chance.
Are you finding that there's a generational hesitation to leaning into it in El Salvador?
Yeah, generational and political hesitation.
Oh, political in what way?
Because it's really supported by the governments. Like Bitcoin here, it was enforced on us by the government. So I feel a lot of people are not really playing with that. So I feel like that's why it's been kind of not really taken in a positive way.
It's like when U2 forced us all to listen to their album through Apple Podcasts. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh my God. They stole our album.
Right. Yeah, I don't want this. I was a fan of U2 before that, and now you're forcing me to listen to it.
It's
not so, right.
Fun.
And I wonder if this is an educational thing, like if we can actually proactively map a solution that helps either hedge against currency loss or actually protects us from the fluctuations of currency loss. Perhaps that's something that we need to figure out. How do we get the right people educating us on this?
That's the thing. I feel like the main issue for this should be like, we need to be more educated in this and see it, you know, for what it is. And if we had some experts, it would be really, really nice and really eye-opening, and it would change probably some perspective.
I think we were talking off air about the idea of putting together a town hall for the next generation of coffee producers. I think this is probably something that could be led by that group of people that come together to have that conversation, and perhaps map a strategy towards having Bitcoin be something that not just El Salvadorian next generation producers use, but perhaps spread across in other countries.
Yeah. Like we might be the pioneers, the first ones. Who knows?
It's definitely in your DNA.
Right.
Nobody is surprised that you would do that, because I mean, I would expect that your dad would have been like, all right, great, let's do this Bitcoin thing. He would have been someone definitely leading the charge on that, had it not been, right?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I guess I'm trying to be like I was saying. I'm trying to be more cautious
Yeah.
at the time, more and more cautious because he was like afraid. He was quite afraid
Oh
for
my
him.
God, he would try anything. Let's just see what happens. Let's
Let's see
just see
what
what
happens.
happens.
Yeah.
A little bit more responsible.
Yeah. He was always saying that I am a better version of him because I'm more cautious and he was so spontaneous. Like let's do it. Let's see what happens. And he was like, you think too much. You think too much. I'm like sometimes you have to think. Sometimes you have to like analyze situations. I'm not gonna take a leap of faith all the time.
Yeah, this is a conversation that comes up with a lot of my clients, this risk appetite thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel as though we are now in the situation we are in
Mm-hmm.
after the pandemic because people had such massive risk appetites
Yeah.
during the pandemic, and the flow-on effects of all that risk that was taken, we now have to pay the price for it.
Yeah. We're playing all the broken dishes. Yeah.
Oh, I like that saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to use that. Thank you.
Welcome.
Next episode, we're going to talk about the next generation of coffee producers and kind of how you differ from the generations before.
Yeah.
Let's do that. All right. Peace, love, and peanut butter, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks, friends. If you enjoyed this video, here's what you should check out next. Consider supporting Map It Forward on Patreon and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before you leave.